Washington is all in a meltdown over a statement or several statements that President Trump made in an interview with George Stephanopoulos. And I want to play what Trump said and then talk about what in the world the left finds so wrong with it. But let's first hear what President Trump said, I think it was this morning or yesterday, to George Stephanopoulos.
If foreigners, if Russia, if China, if someone else offers you information on an opponent, should they accept it or should they call the FBI?
I think maybe you do both. I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening. If somebody called from a country, Norway, we have information on your opponent. Oh, I think I'd want to hear it.
Do you want that kind of interference in our elections?
It's not an interference. They have information. I think I'd take it. If I thought there was something wrong, I'd go maybe to the FBI if I thought there was something wrong. But when somebody comes up with Oppo research, right? They come up with Oppo research. Oh, let's call the FBI. The FBI doesn't have enough agents to take care of it. But you go and talk honestly to congressmen. They all do it. They always have. And that's the way it is. It's called Oppo research.
Folks, this little interview clip has been on every news site and all sorts of punditry, meltdowns. In fact, even some Republicans in the United States Senate, Lindsey Graham as an example, contradicted the president, said essentially that's terrible. If some other country came to him with Oppo research on his political opponent, that Lindsey Graham said, of course you run right to the FBI. I'm going to run. This is just Trump derangement syndrome on steroids. This is ridiculous. Let's start with the fact. Why are we all discussing the entire Trump-Russia collusion hoax? The whole Mueller frame-up, the whole FBI frame-up of President Trump. We're discussing it because during the 2016 presidential campaign, when Hillary Clinton really wanted to win, she hired Perkins Coie law firm, which hired Fusion GPS, which hired Christopher Steele to dig up dirt about her opponent, President Trump. She, Hillary Clinton, engaged in opposition research, which is as old as time itself. Candidates digging up dirt on each other. Opposition research, sad but true, is just obviously what happens in almost every election we've had. On top of that, Hillary ends up with research from Russia, from Christopher Steele digging up dirt about President Trump in Russia. She was going to use that dirt to try to destroy him. She did use that dirt to try to destroy him. So we don't have any discussion out of the Mueller team, out of the FBI, about whether or not Hillary's conduct was problematic, but she was perfectly willing to take information from the Russians to destroy her political opponent. The idea, the naivete, the silly level naivete that there is never any contact between foreign countries and political candidates is absurd. The idea, all Trump said is, President Trump said is, if someone came to me, Norway, any country, and had information about my opponent, the question Stephanopoulos asked was, would you accept it? Would you take it? Would you listen to it? You'd have to be crazy to say no. I mean, you'd have to be crazy to say, no, I don't think I better hear what you have to say. I'd rather lose the election than get information from you. The whole concept of finding Oppo research that may have been conducted by a foreign power, that you're just going to reject it and put your fingers in your ears and say, no, don't tell me, I'm going to run to the FBI, is absurd. Now, I have not worked on the federal campaign at this level, but I'm going, or for anyone in Congress, but I'm going to tell you, the people in Congress, the people who run for House and Senate, who have international connections, who have all sorts of people on their team, the idea that foreign country representatives might come to you and say, hey, we have a lot of scoop on so-and-so. The idea that doesn't happen is absurd. This is another Trump derangement meltdown syndrome. And on top of that, I want to remind you that it was President Obama in the year 2015 who, without apology and with no condemnation from everyone who's clutching their pearls in Washington today and wringing their hands and acting like they'd never heard anything so outrageous, it was Obama who sent a team over to Jerusalem, to the country of Israel, in 2015 to undermine Netanyahu's re-election campaign. So somehow Obama can actually engage in interference in a foreign country's elections. And everyone goes, well, that's Obama. That's a Democrat. Can't talk about that. No one's going to criticize that. But all Trump was asked was, would you talk to somebody? Would you listen to what they had to say if they had information? And President Trump did say he might go to the FBI. He might give it to them. It depends. I assume he didn't embellish, but it depends what the information is and how it was obtained and whether it appeared to President Trump that the country presenting it was really trying to interfere in America's elections. Let me make a distinction there. During the 2016 election cycle, what the conduct that Mueller looked into included looking into that Russia had apparently purchased some fake identities on Facebook, had engaged in Facebook ads, manipulation to interfere with our election. Most of what Mueller found was that what Russia was doing was just trying to stir up the American population to divide us against each other, to depict America as a racist country, a whole bunch of things that the effort really of the Russians was to just unsettle American society. So that level of interference, Trump was not responding to that kind of question. He wasn't responding, what if you discovered they were hacking data from the server of the Democrat Party? What would you do? He wasn't responding to that. The question he had from Stephanopoulos was, if they came to you with Oppo research, would you take it? And folks, he and everyone who's ever run for president in this country, the right answer is yes. Would do it, may have done it, would do it again. And Trump didn't say he'd never go to the FBI. It depends what he was told. But really, this has gotten to the point of absurdity in this country. Trump cannot say anything without being attacked, even after we're just finished with an investigation where the entire accusation against him with having colluded with the Russians was thrown out because there was nothing to it. And now we're discovering, the country's discovering, that the actual beginning of the entire Russia-Trump collusion hoax was cooked up by the FBI. So this whole idea that Trump gave the most absurd answer ever, that of course you'd run to the FBI with anything you're told, just silly level, tiresome. Honestly, I was kind of warming up Lindsey Graham, but he quickly trotted out to get some media attention and say, oh no, you got to run to the FBI. What Trump was asked was, would you go to the FBI if some country had information about your opponent? And the correct answer, and the only answer is, of course. And that, my friends, is today's First Five.